video, I want to talk about the approach I think you have to take in order to be successful with minimalism. Most people who come to minimalism, they see it as a goal that's worth achieving. They take it on as another goal from the mind, from the perspective of the self. It's something that you can achieve in order to feel better, in order to have a better, clearer, simpler life. So by reducing your possessions, there's a certain promise for you in that. And it feels like it is the next thing that you gotta do if you feel inclined to pursue minimalism. And I want to talk about my personal experience with minimalism over the years and how I have come to understand minimalism as a lifestyle and how to implement it actually successfully. And the approach you are taking towards minimalism is what is important. The lens through which you see your minimalism is what's going to determine if you are successful with it in the long run. You see, when you take minimalism as another goal that you are going to achieve and you feel like you gotta get it and then you will be happy, I can tell you it is not going to fulfill that promise. It's going to feel empty and it's going to feel like you're depriving yourself. And this is especially true with minimalism because it seems like a worthy goal that you achieve in a different way than other goals. While usually you think of goals and things you want to get in your life as some addition, at first it might seem like this minimalism journey is something really different, that it's maybe even spiritual. The problem really is that it's more of the same. Mentally for you, it is the same approach you are taking towards that goal. What you got to realize instead is that minimalism is a journey. It is something that you grow into as a person, as a personality. And especially when you combine your journey towards minimalism with spiritual advancement, with really digging deep in order to find what it is in you that is attached to those things in your life, only then will you be successfully able to get rid of some of them from your life that are actually not serving your higher goals. And this cannot be achieved through merely for a certain period of time deciding not to own anything. Because if you decide that, after some time your desire to own things will come back, because your mind is still in the same mode of trying to chase happiness. It's still operating under the assumption that it will be more happy once it achieves or gets what it currently desires. The only thing that's different with minimalism for many people is that now the thing that it desires is to desire less, is to have less. But it's still approached from the same attitude, from the same mental angle. I hope you can see what I mean here. And so you can be successful doing that for a while, but it won't feel genuine. It won't give you the lasting relief and freedom that you are hoping for right now when you think about it. Instead, how you can get all of that through minimalism is or the key to that lies in the approach you are taking towards it. And if you have been on the spiritual path for a while, you may have discovered, maybe in some meditation session or in some glimpse that you had here and there, that actually the state without any quality to it, the state without any content, isn't like filled with some emotion, but if you had to describe it in words, this pure emptiness is still blissful. It is to be described with this word. It is pure being, is purely so clear that it is blissful, and that is your true nature. And when you recognize that, then you realize that your whole life, your egoic personal perspective, with all of the content of your life, with all the things that you have, is a lesser version of that. And true successful minimalism arises from that perspective. When you realize that the things you have in life aren't more valuable than emptiness, than not having them. And you will only be successful with having nothing or very little if your happiness is grounded in your true being, in the real source of all of the contentment, bliss, happiness that you experience. So going back full circle, when you grow in that way spiritually, and that can take a couple of years, when you have these insights and more you get the desire to go to that place of complete emptiness, of pure potential, when you feel it sucking you in, then you realize, oh, everything else is a distraction from that most beautiful state of my being. And then naturally the desires you had before, this wheel of samsara they also call, this clinging of the mind to some goals and then getting out, achieving them, feeling they are inherently empty but not actually consciously realizing it, so creating another desire, chasing it again and again and again. This cycle will then end for you. You have broken free from that whole game of chasing your desires. And that is where true minimalism grows out of. Maybe, and I have found, because these two aspects and paths have been developing in myself kind of in parallel, maybe they can actually support each other. Because it also, if you own less and have to care for less things in your life and have actually less stuff to distract you, less stuff to entertain you, then it also becomes easier to do your practices, to not be distracted from recognizing, from this deep desire to recognize your true self. That can be easier. So I'm not saying that it is bad now if you have understood for yourself that actually you are more happy owning less, that you shouldn't try to have less in your life. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying If that's your only strategy, then you are probably going to fail in the long run, because you haven't yet escaped the wheel of chasing your desires, which is going to happen to you over and over and over again if you are not breaking free from that. So the key here is to understand that minimalism, true minimalism, grows out of the desire for your true being, for your true self. It's a natural byproduct. And you may recognize that in your own life once you are on that path. And another thing I want to mention is, and that is not talked often enough in the minimalism area, I don't know, is that actually today it's very, very easy to own very little and still be very distracted. The core, I think, of minimalism is to be less distracted in order to have the room to see what you want to focus on, to think about your own life, about topics like spirituality, about how you can actually do the things in your life that are most important to you. But today you can own almost nothing and still have so much distractions available to you. I see many minimalists that have quote-unquote very little possessions, that use that freedom to travel the world or have a whole host of exciting experiences, or they spend hours every day on their smartphones, on the internet, watching Netflix, whatever. And it seems like you're not owning a lot, but actually that is just externalized possession. Only because you do not own the airplane that you are using to travel the world doesn't mean you are not using it. It's quote-unquote owned by all of the passengers, all of the society, all of the people who pay for that thing, that airplane to be made possible. And so you can rent or buy a lot of services today without having to actually own the items, which is great. We share all of these things, and I hope it's going to become more, but that can quickly be forgotten, that minimalism is actually about reducing the distractions and not necessarily your personal possessions. It is that too, but you can reduce your possessions all you want if you still have certain things in your life that are hugely distracting, or you actually reduce your possessions to do other more distracting and more time-consuming activities, then I think you miss the whole point of doing minimalism in the first place, or you do not get the main benefit of it. You never experience that which it promises. I hope this video made some sense. You got some interesting insights out of it, and I would love to hear your personal experiences. Share them with me in the comments. And at the end of this video, I want to mention the upcoming retreat again that I will be hosting at the end of August. We will be exploring the topic of mindfulness and how we can use it to actually uncover and discover and find our true self as the ground of this existence, and then discover our true inner bliss from that, or through that. If that's of interest to you, you can check out the details. The link is in the description below. With that, thank you for watching.